Hi, I'm Jason Sterling, and this is an RM Cascadian travel vlog. Today, my son and I are visiting Hollywood Studios at Disney World in Orlando. Hi, thanks for joining me for this day 2 of my son and I's recent visit to Disney World. On day 2, we woke up bright and early, jumped on the Skyliner at our beautiful resort of Pop Century, and went over to Disney Studios via the Caribbean Beach sort of transportation hub, right? That's where the line from Pop Century goes, and then you get off and you can either take a line to Epcot or a line to Disney Studios. Okay, so Disney Studios, and I'm sorry, I'm going to call it Disney Studios, and I might even regress even further back and call it Disney MGM at some point. It's actually called Hollywood Studios nowadays because it is desperately always searching for an identity. It feels like that theme park, and it's my favorite theme park at Disney World. I think it's the best, so that's not a slight, but it is constantly searching for an identity. It is currently called Hollywood Studios, but I often refer to it as Disney Studios. So my apologies. So Hollywood Studios. Hollywood Studios is the fourth gate at Disney World. It's been around now for about 30 odd years, 32 years or so. As I said, it has been searching for a bit of an identity, though, since about maybe 10 years in. I would say it started as a functioning live movie studio where they were actually producing real shows, real television shows, real movies on site. And while you were there, maybe you'd get lucky. You'd see some stars or you'd see some scenes being filmed. There was a backstage type of tour you'd go through and you'd see the costuming department, things like that. Some of that was actually still in place even as long as 2005. I can remember the backstage tour we went through, the costuming department on foot. The tram took you through the outside and you could see through the windows, but there was a portion of that tour where we walked through there on foot. And I think maybe even through the animations part of the studio too. But anyway, that's how it started, right? That didn't last probably a whole lot past 2005. They were really rolling things back then. I don't think it was bringing in people like they thought. It was just supposed to be a half a day type park. But it's hard to charge the same price for that park as you charge for Magic Kingdom, right? When it's only really half a day and there's not as much to do. So they end up kind of gradually over time trying to, I guess, retrofit or wedge in different lands in this particular park so that it has more of an identity like Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom, where you have these different lands. And it's got what I like to think of as 4 lands right there at Disney Studios, Hollywood Studios. Number 1, it has, the reason why my son went, it has Star Wars Land, or as it's called, Galaxy's Edge, the planet of Batuu. That's the first land. It has Toy Story Land, right? I think it's actually called Toy Story Land. That is a sort of themed area that's supposed to be like, Andy's, the kid from Toy Story's kind of backyard, right? And his toys and the things he plays with. Then you have what I call, because I don't think it has a name, not that I'm aware of, I call it La La Land, because it's supposed to be a sort of fictional take of old Hollywood or old Los Angeles from like the 20s and 30s and 40s, a sort of heyday golden era of Hollywood. And that's probably the largest part of that park is Hollywood Land or La La Land. It spreads across a great swath. In fact, I might put a map up here and kind of show where the different lands are so you can see kind of how much each area takes up. Then the fourth land is what I think of as Land of the Lost, right? It does not have a name. It is a mishmash of like scraps of the old New York sets, right? The old New York backlot, right? Where I think they actually did film at least one part of a movie or a scene there once, right? I've seen some pictures like that, right? So I think that's still left there, and you've got kind of lumped into it almost like Lego bricks, because in the main New York area, you kind of still have the Muppets. You have the Muppets show, the Muppets sort of attraction there, which is kind of a theater-based show. It's very cool. I still love it, but that's there. And then kind of next to that, stuck onto it, is Star Tours, right? So you've got a little bit of Star Wars and kind of stuck on there. And then next to that, you have Indiana Jones, right? The Indiana Jones stunt spectacular or stunt show. And that's kind of, wedged on there. And then off to the side is, I guess, ABC Alley? Is that what that's called? I don't know. I think I'm going to call it ABC Alley of the Land of the Lost, right? That's kind of off. And that's where the ABC commissary is, that restaurant. And I think that's it. I mean, there used to be things like those sort of little show things like, I don't know what they were called. I don't know what they were called. Like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I think was there, right? Like the Disney guest version? I don't know. Anyway, that's why I call it Land of the Lost. It's just a mishmash of stuff connected by nothing. Connected by literally nothing. And not even New York connects it all together, right? It's just a mishmash of stuff left over. I really thought at the time, and I kind of expect someday this could happen, it wouldn't be that hard to connect Star Tours to Galaxy's Edge, right? Because the New York area there with the Muppets attraction is not very big anymore. So it doesn't seem to me that it would be that hard to connect those two pieces. And you could use Star Tours almost like Universal uses the Hogwarts Express, and you board Star Tours. And then when you get off Star Tours, you're inside Galaxy's Edge. You're at Batuu, so you board a shuttle in Star Tours and it takes you to Batuu. I think that sounds reasonable to me as an option. Like they could do that, right? They could do that. They haven't. But I think they could. And maybe you could also just have the option of just walking to Batuu if you want. Probably be faster, but you could have that option as well. So I think eventually that will happen. I think Galaxy's Edge has been so popular, and I think they do make a lot of money over there, that I could see that happening. You could expand and eventually erase New York altogether over to Star Tours. New York also has a restaurant, has like the Pizza Planet restaurant or whatever it's called now. And Mama Melrose's is there as well. Now, neither one of those have I ever eaten at. I've heard the pizza place is like cardboard. I don't know. I haven't ever looked up even any reviews about Mama Melrose because I'm just not real big on eating Italian when I'm at Disney World. I got Italian here at home, right? I got Italian here at home, but the Muppet Show, as I said, is still good, and Star Tours is still wonderful. I still love that ride. And the Indiana Jones Spectacular, I haven't been to in a long time, but it was always good too. Now, what I would say about things like Indiana Jones, which I think was the only show going at the time, like I don't think the Little Mermaid show and all that stuff was active any longer or is active. Indiana Jones is a great way to kill time. It holds a lot of people. And if you're waiting, like if you have Genie Plus, which we're going to go over during this episode, if you have Genie Plus and you're waiting for your next ride reservation, or you're waiting for Rise of the Resistance to get fixed, right? It's a great place to kind of kill time. And it was a great show. I haven't gone in a long time because I've seen it so much, and it has never changed in 30-odd years. Now, that's all we really need to say about, the Land of the Lost, right? Let's talk about the reason why we went. My son and I went because of Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars Land. That's where we wanted to go. I call it Star Wars Land because, yes, I get the Galaxy's Edge is supposed to be set between, I don't know, The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, I think. I think it's supposed to be set between those two movies, or maybe between The Force Awakens and the Rise of Skywalker. I'm not sure about that, though, because the Millennium Falcon is there. So maybe it's supposed to be set after Rise of Skywalker, but no, that can't be the case either because Kylo Ren is there. When is that set? I don't know. I always kind of figured that it was set, between those two movies, but the Millennium Falcon is in all of those movies. So how would it be on Batuu? Probably there's a book or comic or novel or something somewhere that explains that. I haven't read it, obviously. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense now that I think about it, because a lot of the things that are there wouldn't be there unless it was before Rise of Skywalker. I don't know. Anyway, I do love it, and I call it Star Wars Land because all that stuff doesn't matter, right? All of the sequel stuff really doesn't matter. Even if that's when it's said, really doesn't matter. Yeah, sometimes you might see Rey around there or Kylo Ren, but more often than not, you don't. You're going to see kind of the First Order hanging out around there, and they just look like the Empire anyway. I know they're called the First Order. They just look like the Empire. They look like stormtroopers and Imperial officers, and that's kind of how I think of them. And that's what you've got at Galaxy's Edge. You've got kind of a resistance area, the sort of the rebellion right over there. That's where Rise of the Resistance, that ride is located. And on the other end, you have the First Order District, which is where their shuttle hangar is, right? The shuttle hangar for Halcyon, actually, for the Galactic Star Cruiser is there. And in between those 2 points, you have the main town of Batuu, which has like Droid Depot and the lightsaber build. What's that called? Savvy's Workshop. That's what it's called. Savvy's Workshop is over there, and Doc Andor's like sort of shop of curiosities is there, and the marketplace is there with a whole bunch more shops. And you've got 2 places to eat, both counter service, Ronto Roasters and Docking Bay 9. The food at each of those places is okay. It's pretty good. It's all right. I mean, for a counter service place at Disney, they're good. There's a lot worse at Disney. It is pretty good. At least it's a little bit different. At least it is a little bit Star Wars. I think they could have gone further. Yeah, they could have gone further with it, I wish it was kind of more like the Halcyon food. I wish it was a little more sophisticated and a little more Star Wars, a little more sci-fi. But they are dealing with a big group of people. They're a big audience. And it's good. It's okay. It's fast because it's counter service, so it's usually not too hard. Now, the seating's not great. Most of it is outside. And as you may be aware, both Orlando and Batuu have 3 suns. Orlando, 2 of the suns are hidden behind the first sun, apparently, but they all have 3 suns, and it's blazing hot in Orlando a lot of the time. Even in the winter, it's hot in Orlando, and especially when it's crowded at Disney World, and there's crowds everywhere, right? And it's humid. And I mean, a lot of the seating just isn't air conditioned. It's not inside. Ronto Roasters is kind of covered, at least most of it. No, that's Docking Bay 9. Docking Bay 9 is covered, most of it. Ronto Roasters, I think, is the one that does have an indoor section. It's always full. Maybe that is Docking Bay 9, the indoor section. It doesn't matter. One of them you can set inside in air conditioning, but it's always full. And then they have an outdoor patio area, which you can sometimes find seating on. A lot of times it's full, though, too. Disney never has enough seating when it comes to their counter service restaurants to eat. Never. Why? How does that happen? I don't know. Disney's been at this for a really long time. There's never any place to eat. You're probably going to have to go just sit somewhere. You're going to have to use a garbage can as a table, sitting on a pony wall while you eat your $20 Ronto Roaster, right? Or something. Now, I do it all the time. I still have a great time there, and those 2 are okay to eat at. There is a great little popcorn place, like a little kettle popcorn place in the marketplace right next to Ronto Roasters, I think, is what that restaurant's called. And it's excellent. Grab some popcorn there. It's not too expensive. It's like any Disney snack. I think it's like $5 or something. And it's a great little snack, multicolored, tastes really cool. I love it. I do love it. Grab a drink. The other place you can kind of eat, not really, unless you're an alcoholic, then that might count as food. Oga's Cantina does, though, have some minor sort of bar food, like a little plate of meat and cheese or something like that. And Jell-O. They've got Jell-O, both alcoholic Jell-O and regular Jell-O. And they've got a wide selection of imaginative drinks. Now, I'm going to say this. Oga's Cantina is all indoors. Thank you, Disney. And it is crowded, though. It is crowded. Chances are you're going to be sitting with somebody you don't know. My son and I were, but hey, we were sitting. Sometimes you're not even sitting. You have to stand. It's a very popular place. It's the only cantina in Batuu, and Oga owns the hotel, so that's why it's the only cantina in Batuu. But it is good, and it's very Star Wars. It really does feel like Star Wars, and the drinks are very imaginative. And the exchange rate between America and Batu is horrendous, so everything's going to cost a fortune, right? That's my little joke, because it's Disney's really the reason why it's so expensive. But go in for a drink. If you love Star Wars, definitely go in for a drink and hang out for a little bit, even if it's just one drink, because it is fun and it is really memorable. The rides at Galaxy's Edge, of course, are Smuggler's Run, which is where you get to get on board and pilot the Millennium Falcon. It usually has like a 45-minute wait. Once when I went, had 95-minute wait, and I waited in line for 95 minutes. Let me explain real quick. And I'm stupid. I'm stupid. No ride at Disney World is worth that long of a wait. None. There isn't one. It isn't even worth that long of a wait to meet the president. I don't care. It isn't. That's not worth that long of a wait to meet someone important. I mean, no, it's not that. It's not. Nothing's worth that long of a wait in line. Smuggler's Run especially wasn't worth that long of a wait in line. But hey, if I hadn't waited that 95 minutes, I would still think it was worth that long of a wait, and I would still do it, even if someone told me not to. So if you go ahead and do it, I won't blame you. But it's an okay ride. It's okay. It's okay fun. Maybe you're piloting the Millennium Falcon. Maybe you're the engineer. Maybe you're the gunner. Maybe you're the fourth person. I don't know what they do. There's 4 people. There's actually 6 seats. 2 of you do nothing, I guess, in the back. Maybe 2 people in the back do nothing. So sometimes those seats aren't filled, though. Maybe people complain too much. I'm trying to remember if I've ever been on there, those 2 seats were actually full. So I think every time I've been on Smuggler's Run, there's just been 4 of us total. Yeah, so people might have complained, but I think there are 6 seats on it. It's an okay experience. Like, I wanted to be Han Solo. I love Han Solo. I wanted to fly the Millennium Falcon. I did it. And the last time I went, I could skip the line because I had Genie Plus. We're going to talk about that this episode. That did make it a lot better. It was because it was pretty close to a walk-on ride in that case. And yeah, then it was a lot more fun. It was. Rise of the Resistance. Rise of the Resistance. Oh my gosh. That is the best ride at Disney World that you're not ever going to get to ride because it's always broken. I'm joking. You will get to ride it. Fingers crossed. Say a prayer, light a candle, buy one of those little statues at a Catholic, gift shop that's the patron saint of Disney World rides, because you're going to need to cover every single base when you go there to make sure you can ride Rise of the Resistance. My son and I did buy the Lightning Lane pass for that. We're going to cover that with Genie Plus. But it will... Spoiler alert, it was worth it simply because then it did break down a couple of times, but at least as soon as it did restart, if you have bought that Lightning Lane pass and your appointment to get on board was broken during that appointment, you can just get on immediately, right? So you don't have to wait. Now the line can be a little long because there's a bunch of you who didn't get to get on that bought Lightning Lane. But at least it's not as long as the people waiting for when you finally get out of the way, right? So, but Rise of the Resistance, now I will say this, it's a longer ride, when you count like the pre-show and all that stuff into it and all the walk through it, and it's a live action ride, and it's a bit like the Star Cruiser, like the Galactic Star Cruiser, like the Halcyon, like that sort of immersive live action adventure. It's like that, but on a much smaller scale. But I think it takes about 20 minutes all told to get through the whole ride experience, right? So it kind of is worth a little bit of a wait in line, not 95 minutes, like I just said. Nothing at Disney World's worth waiting 95 minutes. I don't care if you're starving to death and you're waiting for food. I don't care if you're dying of thirst and you're waiting for a Coke. It still isn't worth 95 minutes. But it is a fantastic experience. I'm not kidding. It really is a great, great ride. And if they could get it to a point where it don't break, it would be the best ride at Disney World. It would. It still is the best ride at Disney World, even though it breaks all the time. It is. I really do like it and highly recommend it. Now, there's another thing at Galaxy's Edge now. If you want to spring for the new Magic Band Plus, right? If you want to buy a new Magic Band Plus, there's 2 things the new Magic Band Plus does, and that is, we're going to go over one of them in another video, but one thing it does here is you can play a game at Galaxy's Edge where you're a bounty hunter, and you go to the Bounty Hunters Guild and you kind of log in with your Magic Band Plus, right? And it gives you a bounty to go track. And using your phone, using your smartphone, and using your Magic Band Plus, hopefully they're connecting well that day, you can go and Your Magic
I
Band
see
Plus
you
will glow
found
either
the
red or
first
green,
bounty.
right, depending on how
Not
close or how
bad.
far away.
But you'll need to collect
Target.
a lot
It's
more
kind
to
of a little
join the
clue, maybe,
Bounty
of where you
Hunters
need to look,
Guild.
right?
Here are your
You go, you
credits.
scan the areas with your phone. If you're in the right area, it'll show you that you found it. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but it'll show you that you found the bounty, and you go back to the Bounty Hunters Guild, and you let them know you found it, and you collect your bounty. Right? Right. So it's really cool. It is really cool. It's really cool when it works. Now, again, here's the problem with it. At least when I was there. When it was really bright and sunny out, it was super tough to see if it was showing red or green. It's almost like you had to try to find a patch of shade, and then by that point, you're probably too far away from where you were before, right? So it's really tough to see if it was red or green. Also, the signal is a little delayed, so it's almost like you walk over here, and then you have to stand there for a minute and check and just make sure that's not going to change the green, is it? No, it's still not changing. Have we waited long enough? I don't know. Did we wait long enough? I think we waited long enough. Okay, let's go to move. Wait. When I started to move it, it turned green. It's a lot like that sometimes. You know, the signal, maybe they've boosted it now. Let's hope they boosted it. I'm sure they've gotten complaints. So hopefully the signal will be boosted maybe. But that was tough. And then the same thing's true with your cell phone when you're trying to scan, to see if you're in the right area. The signal needs to talk to your cell phone to let your cell phone display this thing on the Disney app that shows, that you found your bounty. That's dependent on a signal, and it is a battery vampire, at least with my phone. Oh my gosh. It really, really, really wanted to suck up the battery of my phone. Now, I carry spare extra batteries anyway when I'm on vacation, so it wasn't a huge deal. But be aware of that. It is a battery vampire. Now, those things out of the way was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, especially if you are a repeat visitor to Galaxy's Edge during that trip. Maybe you're going to Disney Studios twice. Maybe you have been there before, right? It's a great way to kill time. And I want to say it's free. It is kind of free. If you need a Magic Band anyway, and go ahead and maybe pay the 10 extra bucks for the Magic Band Plus. So you can do that, because it is a great thing to do around Galaxy's Edge. It doesn't cost, almost $300 for a lightsaber, or $100 for a robot, or $200 on drinks at Oga's, right? I mean, it is something that you can do and have a lot of fun with, even if it's sometimes just a little frustrating. It wasn't that bad. I played it for a while. You can have fun with it, and it's not, an additional charge once you have your Magic Band. Okay, so past Galaxy's Edge, my next favorite land naturally is going to be Toy Story Land. It's the next truly kind of themed land. I mean, not really. I mean, La La Land's kind of themed too, but it's been there forever. It's never changed. So Toy Story Land's a lot newer. It's got, one thing I would say is they could go further. They could get even more of a backyard feel, maybe even more giant type structures to give you this childlike feeling that you are in your backyard as a kid, right? So everything would be much larger than life above you. There is some of that. There is quite a few of that, but I think they could go even further and push that land, develop the theming and the look of it even more. That said, it's got two fantastic, attractions. It has the Toy Story roller coaster, which is really one of the most fun roller coasters at Disney World. And it's not terrifying. I mean, it's fun. It's a really fun roller coaster. You're not going to get on there and be scared to death. You're not going to think you almost died. You're not going to have shaken baby syndrome when you're done with it because it was so rocky and shook you around so much. It's really, really, really a fun coaster. Not worth 95 minutes in line. Let's reiterate that. Not worth 95 minutes in line, but it is definitely a great ride. The other thing is the Toy Story arcade, where you're in the cart and you're playing the arcade style games, you're shooting plates and stuff like that. That's one of my favorite things to do at Disney World. I have always loved that. The wait on that nowadays is usually not too bad. I mean, I saw times when we were there that the wait was like 20 minutes. Not terrible, not awful. Who wants to wait 20 minutes? Well, nobody does. But for Disney World, and most amusement parks, 20 minutes isn't too bad, and it is a lot of fun. You compete with the person with you, right? You got a little competition going on, one of my favorite rides. And then you have the Space Alien Spin, I think it's called, right? With the little space aliens from Toy Story, little three bug-eyed, space aliens. Now, it's fun. It's fun. It's simple. It's simple. It's definitely an amusement park ride. It's kind of the Dumbo, of Disney Studios, Hollywood Studios. It's kind of the Dumbo ride of that because it's just kind of like the old Spider amusement park ride. I don't know how many people know what the Spider was or if it was even called that everywhere. In my area it was, but you're in these kind of cars and they kind of swing around. You think you're going to hit each other, right? And they're swinging all around and they move real fast. So it's got that and it's fun. That's fun. I would not wait very long on that ride. And there were times when there really was not much of a wait for that ride as well. Definitely 15 minutes is pushing it. 15 minutes is pushing it. But hey, let's be real. It's something to ride and it is fun. You'll enjoy it. Now, when I was there, the new restaurant had not opened. I think there's a new restaurant at Toy Story Land, like a barbecue place, like Woody's Barbecue Hoedown or something like that. That was not open yet. The only place really to eat at Toy Story Land was Woody's Lunchbox. Woody's Lunchbox is kind of a cart. It's not even really a true counter service place. I mean, it kind of is. They got some sandwiches and snacks and drinks and stuff like that. The food there is okay. It's counter service food. I have not eaten there really but once, except for one thing. I've eaten there a couple of times for one thing. I ate like a grilled cheese sandwich there once, I think it was. And tomato soup. Anyway, it was good. I don't have any bad memories of it. Obviously not anything spectacular though either. One thing I do like there though is their Pop-Tart. Now their Pop-Tart is really just a shortbread cookie, kind of like a sugar cookie. It's like a shortbread cookie if you know what a shortbread cookie is. Has a very, very thin filling inside of flavored goo and some frosting on the outside, right? With some candy bits on it or bacon or something, right? But it's really good. Again, for Disney, it's about a $5 snack. So not crazy. Maybe not even $5. I need to look up the price on that. Maybe it was $4, like $3.99 or something. For Disney, I always remember feeling like, this is a pretty good deal for Disney, Counter service is quick. You can use mobile ordering like most counter service places at Disney, and it's a great snack. It's also pretty big. I mean, if you've got two littler kids, it would be pretty easy to buy that and break it in half and share it. My son and I have done that sometimes even with just the two of us. We don't necessarily want a huge amount to eat, but maybe we just want it, right? I'll buy one and break it in half because it is a fairly good size sort of snack. And shareable depending on how much you want to eat or how old your kids are. Okay, now for real food, La La Land has a lot of options over there. Like I said, I think it is the biggest part of that park. Real quick though, before we get into La La Land, I'm going to go back over to kind of what I'm going to call this? I'm going to call this the thrift store of La La Land, the land of the lost, where all of the stuff that everybody didn't want got kind of tossed, right? Except that people do want it because the Muppets and Indiana Jones and Star Wars are still all very popular. But it feels like everything got tossed in a bin over there like they do at a thrift store. Well, also tossed in over there is the ABC commissary, which actually is a great little place to eat. It's not little. It's actually fairly sizable. It's just a counter service place, but it's really nice inside. It looks more like a restaurant, like a sit-down restaurant. It does have still kind of an 80s vibe to it, I think, which makes sense, with when it was built. I guess I don't think it's ever been like updated. They don't really need to, but it does have that sort of 80s feel to it to me. The food though is actually quite good. I've never had any complaints there. They're going to have the typical Disney dessert. As I talk, I'm sure you see the pictures here, typical Disney sort of stuff. Again, it's a sort of place sometimes because my son and I like to eat so many different places and so many different things. That's the sort of place we'll stop and buy like one thing, like we'll buy one meal, one dessert. And that's what we did the last time we were there is we did just get a meal and we split it. I don't even think I even ate that much of it. It was so hot. Oh my God. It was hot. I was dehydrated. I did not feel like eating that much. Now I did make room for ice cream because over in La La Land, you've got Birdie's Ice Cream of Extinction, right? The dinosaur ice cream place. You've got Fantastic Funnel Cakes right across a little kind of sidewalk area from that. You've got the 50s Primetime Cafe, which is still an excellent choice. Now, I think it's not quite as good as it used to be, but maybe it's just because I've been there so much that it's not as exciting as it used to be, right? It's not as novel as it used to be. It's still a great sort of sit-down place. It's a little too expensive for what it is, but it is a themed restaurant. May not be characters you recognize, but they are all characters in there. Your aunt, your cousin in their home in the 1950s, having 1950s food, watching 1950s programming on the television at the table. It's an excellent, excellent time. Loads of fun. Next to that is sort of a real character buffet. I have never been in there. I can't even recall off the top of my head what it is, but I know that there's characters in there and it's a buffet. It might be family style table service now because of COVID. That's what I think. I think it might be family style table service because of COVID. That's what I think. So in that case, it's not really buffet, but you get the gist. Now, here's the thing though, here's the restaurant over there in that area that I always I don't know if it's part of La La Land or part of Land of the Lost, but it's a sci-fi drive-in. I guess we could call it Land of the Lost because it's sci-fi drive-in, right? But it is kind of closer to that area and the ABC commissary, which I did throw in with Land of the Lost. I don't know. Sci-fi drive-in is okay. I have been there. It is a lot of fun. You're watching kind of old clips of movies on a big sci-fi type screen, and you've got little vehicular looking tables. Like the tables look like old 1950s cars, and you sit in booths and you watch these clips while you eat. That said, it's just a hamburger place, essentially hamburger and fries, and it's like $25 for a hamburger and fries. I do think it is way overpriced, even for Disney. Because someplace like Primetime 50s, you can get an actual meal and it's the same price. Hell, maybe even cheaper sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I do think it's overpriced. That said, I mean, one and done, right? I mean, I think it's fun. I think it's worth checking out. I just don't think it's worth the cost, right? So make your own decision there. Maybe if you love burger and fries, that's all you like to eat, then, then maybe that works. But to me, it's it's just a standard burger. I get just as good burger at like Carl's Jr. or someplace like that. Now, aside from like a couple of little cart type places, like there's a cinnamon roll cart over in La La Land. There's like orange juice or something cart. Like, I don't know what all they serve there. It's another little kind of snack cart, on the road to the Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster. It's where the cinnamon roll cart usually is too. And aside from those, you have the Brown Derby. Yes, the Disney World Hollywood Studios namesake for the famous restaurant in Los Angeles, right? Famous Restaurant of the Stars. I haven't eaten there a lot, but I have eaten there, and it's okay. It's good. I don't think it's quite as good sometimes as its infamy and name recognition would lend people to think and believe, right? I'm going to put it that way. It's good. It's a nice sit-down place. It's almost too nice because it's almost a feeling like maybe you should be dressed up, but of course you're at Hollywood Studios and you're dressed for a hot day in Florida and you come into this place and it does look pretty nice. I did feel a little weird there. Like, should I have tried to go back to my resort and change? Now, luckily, I wasn't the only one that looked like a tourist, and so it wasn't too bad. But it was kind of odd. It was kind of odd to feel like you're in this really nice restaurant and you look like you should be at a park, right? Like a neighborhood park. But the food was good. They have like a Cobb salad. Like, did they invent the Cobb salad? I think I can't remember. Maybe, and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I think they've got a burger there too. The menu changes. I'm going to be honest. I've not eaten there in a long time. There was no reason. I mean, it wasn't because it was bad. The food was good. The service was okay. The service wasn't great, as I recall, but it wasn't bad. It just was kind of like typical service, like you're going to get anywhere, right? So it wasn't super good service. And the pricing was really expensive. Like I'm not going to Hollywood Studios in order to have a expensive sit-down meal. That's not why I'm going there. So, I felt like for what it was and where you were, kind of out of place and kind of more expensive than maybe it's worth. But hey, I've seen lots of people rave about it. See people swear they eat there every time and they love it. So, look over the menu, look over the pricing, make your own decision. I can say this. The food I've gotten there has been good. The food I've gotten there has been good. There's never been anything wrong with it. The quality's really good, stuff like that. Now, La La Land has a huge amount of shopping. There's a ton of shopping on both streets, Sunset Boulevard and whatever the other boulevard is. There's a lot of shopping there in La La Land. I'm not even going to try to think about it all or go through it all. But if you like to shop, there'll be plenty of opportunities for Disney-themed merchandise. The other big area to shop is Galaxy's Edge. They have a lot of shopping there as well for Star Wars-themed merchandise, right? The thing that La La Land has, though, are the two big ticket namesake, sort of rides, Tower of Terror and the Rock and Roller Coaster. Now, both of them sort of vaguely fit with, I guess, California, right? With LA not of the 30s and 40s. Because I don't think Aerosmith was even alive in the 30s and 40s. They are kind of old. They are kind of old. They are, but I don't think they're that old. Like, I don't think they're nearly 100. Yeah, no, I don't think they're nearly 100. I don't think they're nearly 100. And they're over there, so they don't really fit in with the theming. But the idea is that you're kind of in Los Angeles back there for the Rock and Roller Coaster. And, you board a limo, and it's a great roller coaster. The roller coaster is absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to give them a little bit of a slide on the theming for the area because it is in Los Angeles. Maybe when you got done at the Tower of Terror, you were in a time warp, right? You're in a time warp, and it forwarded you to the 21st century, and that's where you found the Rock and Roller Coaster. We're going to go with that as kind of the theming there. It's a great ride. It's one of the best roller coasters, maybe the best roller coaster at Disney World. I'm not kidding. It probably is the best roller coaster at Disney World, especially for a thrill roller coaster. But again, it's not the sort of thrills that are going to just terrify you, right? It's a smooth coaster. It's a lot of fun. It's just a rousing, rowdy, thrilling ride. As is Tower of Terror, which of course fits a whole lot better in the 20s, 30s, and 40s because it is a hotel from the 20s, 30s, and 40s that has suffered a great misadventure during a storm that has led to, the loss of some guests who have become permanent residents of the structure, right? And they lost their main elevators on kind of the outside of the building, so you have to take the service elevators all the way down in the basement to go up to your room and say a prayer on your way that you survived the adventure. It is one of the most thrilling rides at Disney World. Again, it's kind of scary. It is kind of scary. It is one that has a lot of anticipation and a lot of buildup, and probably one of the best traditional thrill rides I've ever been on, and the only real true traditional thrill ride at Disney World, I would say, in the vein of like all of this buildup and all of this anxiety and all this anticipation, and bam, right, it hits you. So it's a super, super, super cool ride. I really do love it. And that is the other thing there in La La Land. Except we can't forget, we also have the newest thing over there at Disney Studios. I'm not even going to correct myself this time. At Disney Studios. And it is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad Runaway. Is it Runaway Railway? Yeah, Runaway Railway, I think is what they call it. And it is, that's why I'm not going to correct it. That's Disney, right? Disney Studios. Again, that's in what is supposed to be a replica of Mann's Chinese Theater. I've never understood that. Why that's there. I don't get that, really. I mean, I get it was in LA and kind of in that period, and now it's kind of the icon for that park. Someone throw that little editorial out there. I don't get that. I miss the big sorcerer's hat, Mickey's sorcerer's hat. That was a proper icon for that park. I mean, it spoke to magic, and it spoke to Disney, and it spoke to, the imagination and the fantasy of Mickey Mouse, right? And the original Disney animations. And Mann's Chinese Theater speaks to LA. It does. It speaks to Los Angeles, and it speaks to movies in Los Angeles. That's it. But inside Mann's Chinese Theater is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and it's a fantastic new ride. It's a lot more thrilling than you might think, because I wasn't even going to ride it either. I don't want to ride a little baby's ride. I don't want to ride It's a Small World Disney Studios version. I don't want to get on that thing. I don't care. That's fine for little kids. They need some stuff for little kids. I'm not riding them. But I did ride it, of course, because I'm going to ride everything. And it is a load of fun. It's really, really, really fun. It's very technically adept, and yet it's almost never broken down. I don't think I ever saw it broken down while I was there. I think it's always working. Hello, Rise of the Resistance. Whoever's doing maintenance on Mickey and Minnie's Railway, lure them over to Galaxy's Edge. Have them work on Rise of the Resistance. It's a lot of fun. You will not regret riding it. A lot of thrills, easygoing thrills though that even kids will love, and it's a lot of fun. I will say there's one part where you look like maybe you're going down a waterfall. A few little kids might be nervous about that, but I think in general I didn't hear anybody crying. I only heard people laughing and having a great time. Got a lot of great friendly characters with the Mickey Mouse gang, and it's a brilliant execution. Now, as we're here at the end of that ride, let's talk real quick about Genie Plus and the Lightning Lane, because the first time I ever used it was here at Disney Hollywood Studios, and it is $15 more a day for Disney Plus per person added on to your entrance ticket, right? And then for the Lightning Lane, which is every park right now has one big ticket attraction at Disney Studios. It's Rise of the Resistance that is separate from Disney Plus or Genie Plus, separate from the Genie Plus, and is a Lightning Lane attraction cost, right? So, and it was like $15 more or $17. I can't remember. The thing is, Lightning lanes vary based on ride, park, day of the year. I'm not kidding here. So you just don't know until you go and check. Is it 12? Is it 17? Is it 20? For that one particular ride to skip the line. Now, my son and I did do that. We got Genie Plus and we got Lightning Lane both. You can just get one or the other. You don't have to buy both, and you don't have to buy one in order to buy the other. You can just buy one or the other, right? So if it seems like a really slow day, except for Rise of the Resistance, which is always busy, and you think, well, we really don't need Genie Plus, but let's go ahead and buy Rise of the Resistance instead, you can do that. I will say this. So the time I went before this visit was still when there was COVID protocols and there was no fast pass at all or Genie Plus or anything like it. And that was the worst trip I ever took to Disney. And it mostly came down to waiting in line for like 95 minutes to ride Snow White's roller coaster, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That's one that really sticks in my head. And it takes like 1 minute and it's not that great. And you waited an hour and a half to get on there. And that was the thing all over that park. I remember we were at Magic Kingdom all day and I added it up and we stood in line for rides for something like 8 hours. And it was so bad that I almost made a resolution never to visit Disney World again. And I've had friends that have done that. I know people that back before they had Fast Pass, they had been to Disney World. I was like, hey, have you ever been to Disney World? Yeah, we went once. Like, really? You didn't like it? No. I didn't. And that's what they said. They said, all I remember from that trip was waiting in lines all the time, waiting in lines constantly. And that was back like in the 90s, late 90s, maybe early 2000s and stuff. And they've never gone back. That's what kind of taste it left in their mouth that now, not in those days, but now you spend $100 to get into that park and you spend 8 hours of your time standing in a line. Yeah. So this time I was like, I hate it, but I'm going to buy it. What can I say? I did buy Genie Plus and I did buy the Lightning Pass ride at every park we went to. And to me, I will say it was worth it. I don't go to Disney very often, maybe once every couple of years. I don't want to spend all of that money to go all that way the one time in 2 years and have most of my time spent in a line. I want to be able to maximize it as much as possible. We did get on like every ride with very little wait, you guys. And that did make it worth it to me. We were able to spend a lot more time going to things like, say, we didn't go to the Indiana Jones show, but to stuff like that. And I didn't feel like I'm standing here wasting my time in line, in order to ride this ride. And I get on the ride and it lasts 90 seconds. And I'm just really not happy when I get off that it took that long, right, to get on it. So I did think it was worth it for someone like me. If I went every week or every weekend, yeah, I probably wouldn't buy it because who cares? I missed the ride this time. I'll just catch it next time. I'll just catch it next time. I have a friend, though. She goes like 5 or 6 times a year. She still buys it. She still doesn't want to wait in line, but I did think it was worth it. It did work. But it has some major drawbacks. As you know, it costs. So my son and I ended up spending $60 extra that day just to ride rides after we already paid to get into the park to ride rides, right? Now, Disney will be quick to tell you that you can still line up for free. You can still line up into the regular standby line for free. Don't give them any ideas because they'll start charging for that too. But yeah, you can still ride for free through the regular line. The other drawback, though, too, was I felt like I spent so much time on my phone. I feel like I was like this a lot on my phone, double checking times, looking to see what's up next, looking to see how much of a wait there was, checking this, and it took a lot of effort to miss the line. Now, I would do it again, but it does take way too much effort. It does. I don't know what Disney can do about it. I don't know how they're going to fix it. Well, I know how they're going to fix it. Let me tell you how you fix it, Disney. If you're watching, you're not watching, but if you do, someday by miracle, happen to watch this, make rides that have more capacity. Yeah, put a bigger capacity on the ride in some fashion. Instead of building one track for the Toy Story roller coaster, build 2 so you can run 2 of them at once, right? Star Tours never has a wait, really. Usually Star Tours, at most, it'll say 20 minutes, and it never even takes 20 minutes, right? That's because they've got, I don't know, 10 of those cars or 12 of those, those vehicles, right? I don't know how many, and probably not that many. Let's say 8. And they each hold something like 30 people. So you can put lots of people through it at once and everyone loves it and everyone has a great time and it didn't take very long, right? And it's a great ride. That's what you do. But so many of their rides nowadays do seem to be such low capacity that, the lines get backed up like crazy. And you're going to stand in the sunlight, the boiling sun for 90 minutes to ride a 90-second roller coaster ride. Either that or you don't let in as many people as you are to the parks so that it overburdens what's available, right? Because that's the way it feels most of the time. And I think a lot of people feel that way even in times when it didn't used to be busy. It still feels like it's busy. I think it is busier nowadays. And I think the dead zones, everyone kind of learned when the dead zones were and, spread their trips out more. So more people go in September now. So it is busier in September. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it as far as I didn't have to wait in line and I would do it again for that reason, but it costs too much and it required way too much effort on my part, constantly looking at my phone, messing with it. Okay. So overall, to wrap this up, Disney Hollywood Studios, Disney MGM Studios is my favorite park at Disney World. It is tied really closely to Epcot, but Disney Studios, I want to say it again. Disney Studios, I'm not even going to try anymore. Disney Studios is my favorite park at Disney World. It has a ton of e-ticket rides. Almost everything it has is an e-ticket ride. The only thing that's not an e-ticket ride is probably like maybe the little swirling saucer, alien saucer thing. I think that's the only thing that you could say isn't really an e-ticket ride. I mean, everything else there is super great. It's super popular. It's really, really cool. And so it's got a lot of great rides. It's got great restaurants there. It really does. I mean, even the counter service places, I think, are better in general than a lot of, say, other parks have for counter service. I'm looking at you, Magic Kingdom. So I would say that it's got a lot of stuff to it. So it is my favorite park. It's one of the reasons why I like staying at Pop Century now or Caribbean Beach is because the Skyliner takes you directly to Disney Studios and to Epcot, and they're both my 2 favorite parks, really close together. So it's a really popular park with me. I definitely recommend going. If you're a Star Wars person, go to Disney Studios 2 days in a row. You're probably going to want to just hang out in Galaxy's Edge for a while. It's a great place to take pictures. It's a great place to get your picture taken if you have Memory Maker. It's a great place to just window shop and go through the stalls. It's a great place to grab a bag of popcorn and sit and people watch other people. A lot of people dress up in Galaxy's Edge. You're going to see Princess Leia. You're going to see Han Solo. You're going to see people strolling by in all forms of Star Wars getup. There is a lot to do there. I mean, play the bounty hunter game, right? Go build a droid. Build a droid's fun. And then take your droid out and move him around a little bit. Let him see it. Plus, if you do have a droid already, or if you're going to get one, be sure and carry it around Galaxy's Edge with you. He'll go crazy. He'll love it. He loves Galaxy's Edge too. There's radio signals in the air that connect to your droid and make your droid interact, right? And your droid will interact with other droids as you pass by them. So, and it really does work. Last time I was there, some guy stopped me on the sidewalk because I had my droid on my back, right? And he said, hey, I don't know if you know this, but like your droid's on and he's just going crazy back here. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I know. He loves Galaxy's Edge. He loves Batuu. This is his home. This is where I adopted him from. So he's really excited to be home again, seeing all of his old friends, all of his old places, right? So if you get one, take a time to take them around Batuu a little bit, around Black Spire Outpost. Let them see the place, and kind of interact. And that is it for this particular episode. It's probably been a little long, but I do love Disney Studios, and I'd love it if you'd hit like, subscribe, and notify. So you can catch our next video. Next time we're going to Epcot, my second favorite park at Disney World. And until then, thanks for watching.